Good evening.
There are still places if people want.
We have still some places here in the second row. Please join us from the back. Feel free to take the last chairs, and then we have chairs in reserve. So please allow me to welcome all of you, the Apostolic Nuncio, Monsignor Adegon, the Jesuit Fathers, and all the guests, friends of ELP, friends of Jesuits, friends of JESC, at this celebratory moment when we will proceed with the graduation of the 8th cohort of the European Leadership Program. My name is Botond Feledi. I'm in charge of the program. I am Deputy Director of JESC, and I'm very glad to see the room full. It is also showing us that this circle around the leadership program is growing, and not only the number of applications are mounting, but also the number of friends and partners, mentors and coaches. So we are very glad that you accompany the young fellows tonight. This is, as I said, the 8th cohort. We started the program in 2019. That was a very bad year because it was just 1 year before COVID. So you can imagine that it's not the dream of a startup to enter into the COVID era when you need applications across Europe. So that was a challenge, and I am glad to see that probably this is the moment when we can assume that we completely got over that moment of the stress that COVID presented, and we are very satisfied with the quality and the number of applications being back in order. It was not, though, 2019 the very first moment of ELP, because it was in 2017 when Cardinal Hölderich, as president of Comesse, Jesuits and the German Bishop Conference started to imagine with friends of the Jesuits how this program should unfold. So this has been in design for 2 years and then implemented in the last 4 years. Thank you again for joining tonight. We have an excellent panel who will all speak to you and to the fellows. Mainly we have the fellows just on the right side of the room. So if you see this young people around, those are the European Leadership Fellows, first semester and second semesters who proceed to the graduation tonight. Actually, this evening is really dedicated to the message for them and what this last official event in their leadership formation can bring around. So please, I will call now Philippe Martins, Philippe, or Father Martins, the director of JESC, who is celebrating the first graduation as director. But it's not his first meeting, of course, with ELP. We have been doing a small review of ELP last summer, and we have been doing more than probably 69, 68 interviews, focus group meetings. So this is actually the first fruits of ELP 2.0 already, with a slight touch and turn to even more spirituality and self-leadership and growth of the people in the cohort. So Philippe, please join us on the stage.
Just a small words. I see people still coming. I think there will be some chairs. Maybe we can provide, as will be, well, several of us speaking. So that's people's seats. Well, it's true. I was just thinking, looking at my notes and thinking also to bring the memory of Peter Rosic. Some of you know. So the initial intuition of this program, my predecessor at Jesuits from Slovenia, together with Botton and with others, so developing the program, testing some things, others seeing the need to change. And now more and more people, I think we have never seen the room like this. And so now I'm here to collect the merits of something that was started by someone else. So I think it's worthwhile a word of thankfulness to Peter. I think that's it. And just 3 notes, simple notes to start. And I don't have a speech, I have some notes. I started writing a speech, and usually we start this speech with "it is an honor." Usually we say "it is an honor." But I don't know if it's in an honor. I was thinking, would Jesus, sorry to speak about this person 2,000 years ago, would Jesus start one of his speeches saying, "It is an honor"? And I said, maybe you would start, "It is a joy. It is a joy to be here." I think, in a sense, it is a joy with the fellows. They did this 5 months walk or path. I think it is a joy with the friends, with Aldegonde, with the Archbishop Noel, with Vroe. We have people here from partner institutions as well. So when we are together, when we share, because this evening will be an evening of sharing, when at the end we eat together. And I was joking with someone saying, even if the speeches are not good, the food will be good. Don't worry. So the food will be good. So I think it is a joy. The words today, when I was preparing this in the morning, was the word is joy. I think the word is joy. And for three things, I would say joy for three things. I was just, interviewed. We were doing a small film on this, and this joy on this Ignatian spirituality. And before there, even the way this man Jesus, and then followed by so many different perspectives, different spiritualities, but by this one, the discovery of a meaning, So, Botond presented me, I'm a priest, which is a good job. In a sense, you don't know unemployed priests, right? So it is a good, I'm joking, this is a joke. And I am an engineer. And all of my companions, engineer companions, usually you start doing technical stuff, and little by little, you become like the heads of the enterprises, managers, and you start doing these formations on leadership, on techniques, on methodology. And it's very curious because all of them, when we are together, when I baptize their children, they always share little by little. And I think Pierre will share a little bit about this with us. They start sharing that all these formations are not so much about technique, but about get to know yourself, get to know the others, so that you can be a good leader, so that you can be a good accompagnator of people. And so it's funny because one of them, who is a Christian and acquainted with Ignatian spirituality, he would say, there's a person who discovered this 400 years ago, who already knew that leadership is a question of knowing yourself, of putting what you discover inside at the service of others. So this first thing, which is we are always rediscovering what is the good, what is a life with meaning, the joy of this rediscovering what is a life of meaning. So this would be the first thing. It's a motive of joy. I think ELP has been developing these pillars we call the pillars of a life with meaning. The pillar of what we call self-leadership, to get to know you. The pillar of community, the living with others, learning to live with different perspectives. There's this pillar also of service. So these guys, I would call you these guys, they did this volunteer with less advantaged people and to be exposed with people who need more. And also this, of course, dedicating the lives to the European common good in the sense to discover how they can here be part of the people who want to make this project meaningful. These first parts, and I'll start to move faster so that I don't take longer, the joy of discovering this. A second joy is the joy of having done this path, and I'm really thankful of path with this. You are 16 in total, 13 here. Just give them a look. They look like nice people, don't they? They look like nice people because they are nice people. Each one of them, I could say also some words about the characters, I will not. But what I like most, or today what is motive of joy, is this wish to grow. We started some months ago with the inauguration day, finishing with a nice mass in my place. We did a retreat with Michael. Where is Michael? Right here in Cartier Galais. They started writing the personal mission plan there. Every month, they would have not only some meetings with speakers, with their mentors, with their coaches, spiritual coaches. We would have evaluation sharing meetings and dinner together so that to evaluate what I'm struggling with, what I'm learning also. And we just finished just before this session. So last Saturday, we were in Antwerp. We were very much welcomed by Uxia, where they shared with us what they have learned during these months, and also not only looking into the past, but very beautiful, what they feel called to, what is the call, not only in terms of profession, but so that they live meaningful lives, to change the world, to make the world a better place. So the joy of Ignatian spirituality, the joy of having done this path together. And finally, I think the third joy, when I was thinking and looking at the list, I was on internet rereading your CVs in the web page of ELP. I think there's a joy in the future that waits for you. Because I think the hope, there's gratefulness, so we're grateful for what you've lived here. You all expressed this. But I think there's also joy in having discovered this, to be at the service, to listen, to allow yourselves to keep being challenged. And it's very, just 2 or 3 things and I'll finish, but to my memories, we started in October, as I said. And for instance, one of the mentors could not come. They were invited, but she dropped by very quickly to give us a table of cheese she prepared. I cannot be present, but I want to be present this way. We have one person here, I will not say the name because they all know, whom form of service was, I like cleaning. So she would jump to the kitchen whenever, you know, guys and girls living together, the guys leaving all the dishes to wash, then there was someone who was always generous of people who were already in ELP. I was very happy to hear also. There was a situation when one alumni helped another alumni. You're looking for a job. I know this opportunity. This would be a good place for you to put your talents at service. So I found this logic of caring for one another and of being, that's it, putting into the world all you can do. And so this is the third joy, and that's it. And I want to wish you in this evening also a joyful life, so that you keep tracking this path that the kind of you discovered you could taste during these 5 months. I think this is it. Okay, thank you.
So still 2 more people from the stage, Barbara Segerd and Pierre Gougian will talk to you. And then, of course, the representatives of the cohort and the alumni. I am about to call Barbara on stage, but she's representing also an institution, actually a Jesuit organization, the University Center St. Ignatius in Antwerp. As you know, Antwerp has also been a bastion for Jesuits before, and this is the remaining stronghold, and we are very glad to cooperate and collaborate with them. They have been present in ELP's life since the very beginning, and they have been accommodating the so-called Final Reflection Day just last week. So we have upgraded the program not to include a research paper anymore, but to allow the fellows to work 5 months long on their personal mission plan. And I think it's in some ways more adaptive to the current needs of the youth. And as you may know, the universal apostolic preferences of the Society of Jesus are talking about journeying with the youth. So we understood that that's more of a call, more of a need that we can discover together. And this is the pilot, and thank you for taking part, fellows, in this pilot edition of ELP 2.0. And also Barbara, and to you and Uxia for supporting us all on this way. So please, the stage is yours.
We are thankful from our side also for the collaboration with with JESC and ELP, And also, we were very happy to host a fellow this year, for the whole of the year, Divin Luc Bikoubania. We insisted on having, he's the first fellow, I think, from the south, from Congo, and it was really a pleasure working together with Divin. Okay, I prepared something on the topic, but I am no expert. Let's see. I was inspired by your suggestion, Philippe. The topic of today reminds me of a speaker we invited already more than a decade ago to talk about the relevance of the Jesuit spiritual tradition for leadership and management today. Chris Loney, a former Jesuit seminarian who later served as a managing director of J.P. Morgan, came to talk about his book for an audience of Jesuit alumni active in education and business. He wrote this first book in 2005, still relevant for today, on heroic leadership best practices from a 450-year-old company that changed the world, referring, of course, to the Society of Jesus as a global multinational avant la lettre. What leadership values enabled them to build this impressive worldwide network and made their educational model so successful? When the Jesuits were launching their organization in the 1540s, they had no business plan and no very clear idea of the kind of work they would do. At first, they were working in hospitals, as street preachers, doing some lectures, and so on. But they did have a very clear idea about the kind of person they wanted to recruit to join them. The start of the Jesuit school system was the result of no master plan to build a global higher educational empire, but almost completely an accidental outgrowth of this recruiting vision. Because in the early 1500s, when the Jesuits were starting, public education was virtually unavailable. Perhaps only 1% of Europeans had the chance of achieving a higher education. So the Jesuits opened a school or two to educate their own recruits studying to be priests. Soon after, however, local authorities noticed that these Jesuit schools were of a far higher quality than anything else available in these regions, so they asked the Jesuits to begin accepting lay students into their schools. It wasn't long before Jesuits were opening schools not just for seminarians studying to become Jesuit priests, but also for those who would become government workers, teachers, and businessmen. Jesuits remain hugely influential educators who administer what remains the largest privately organized system of higher education in the world. These 16th century Jesuits understood the concept of excellence in leadership in a very distinct way. Looking into Jesuit history, rules, and spirituality, Loney discerns 4 pillars of great leadership. Leaders are self-aware, heroic, ingenious, and loving. That is, they know themselves deeply, respect the dignity and potential of those around them, live for heroic purposes greater than themselves, and adapt confidently to a rapidly changing world. Every Jesuit in history, from the founders to the current Jesuits being formed in dozens of countries, has participated during training in a month-long intense period of personal reflection called the spiritual exercises. During this time, the Jesuit is removed completely from the workplace, from reading papers, watching television, talking with friends, or anything that could deter from the intense introspection that becomes his only job responsibility for 30 days. These guided meditations, which probably remain the most powerful retreat tool in the Christian world today, were Ignatius of Loyola's very practical attempt to translate into a systematic approach the fruits of his own journey to religious self-understanding. For the rest of his life, after his month-long investment in knowing himself, each Jesuit follows a daily regimen of 2 or 3 mental pit stops to remind himself of what he has to be grateful for and to reflect on his goals, which might be a weakness to work on or an objective to achieve. The genius of this simple practice is obvious when we consider its origins. When the Jesuits were founded, most religious orders were monastic. Community members would gather together multiple times each day for common prayer. Jesuits broke radically from this custom by abandoning the monastic practice and pursuing much more activist ministries in society as educators, social workers, and so on. And their work outside the community wouldn't permit them to gather all in unison multiple times daily. We're only going to be free enough to be ingenious, the second pillar, adaptive, creative, flexible in our business or life when we have first identified and freed ourselves from personal attachments that could get in the way of making choices that serve our long-term mission. How did these 16th century Jesuits instill a change-ready culture that we in supposedly modern 21st organizations often have great trouble developing? The Jesuits help us understand how individuals can become free and adaptive. The key is in one of Ignatius' spiritual exercises and a concept that he calls detachment or indifference. Ignatius says that the first thing we must strive for whenever we face an important decision is the kind of inner freedom that would allow us to make a wise choice, guided only by our ultimate goal or mission. Heroism, the third pillar, is ultimately less about the opportunity at hand because most of us can't control the opportunities that life will present us. Then it is about the response to the opportunity at hand, which we can always control. How we think, behave, and respond to whatever opportunities life presents us. For most of us, our opportunities will be small. Our heroism will be the fruit of a lifetime of patient and dedicated work. Think of teachers. The teacher has no guarantee that he or she will make a profound, life-altering impact on a child's life. His or her heroism is manifest in the commitment to live and work as if he or she might make such a difference, never losing sight of the fullest vision of what teaching can accomplish. This consistency of motivation and vision, helping to role model and achieve a vision larger than ourselves, is exactly what heroes accomplish. The formal name of the Jesuit founders chose for their organization was, in their native Spanish, Compañía de Jesús, Company of Jesus. And the way they understood company is not what we would typically understand today. Nowadays, the meaning of the word company has been almost completely hijacked by the connotation of commercial enterprise, but the Latin roots of the word are cum, the word for with or together, and panis, the word for bread. So etymologically, a company would be the group of people with whom you might break bread. In the 16th century, a company would most typically refer to a religious group, a military troop, or even a group of friends, a much broader set of connotations than the word has today. The word companion draws from exactly the same roots, of course. These early Jesuits clearly saw themselves as companions, first of all companions of Jesus, but also companions of each other. And they believed that their companionship would energize their efforts. The Jesuit Compañía is challenging us to get our own modern companies back to the word's roots, groups characterized by mutual support that energizes team members. These are but a few reflections on the contribution that Jesuit tradition might make to our own reflections on ourselves as potential leaders today. Uxia invited Loni for a lecture then and tries to apply this theory in practice today. In the framework of its City Festival program, Baroque Influencers, which will run from March until November in the city of Antwerp, the physical and mental legacy of the 17th century Antwerp Jesuit community will be highlighted through exhibitions, concerts, and lecture series conceived to question in how far we are still heir of this tradition and whether the way they tackled the challenges of yesterday can inspire us in our struggle with the wicked problems we face today. Next to the public program, smaller and more targeted projects have been developed. One such project is the workshop series, Who and What Do I Want to Become? Because education for society is such a central pillar of the Jesuit endeavor, Uxia decided to set up a pilot project for secondary school pupils. In collaboration with Jesuit Nicolas Sintobin and a youth cultural center, a workshop program for study and career orientation based on the Jesuit method of discernment was launched. The power of this approach lies in making visible the influence feelings have on choice behavior. Where classical study and career orientation approaches mainly focus on providing information, this approach offers room for in-depth reflection on the pupil's own feelings and wishes, and how this affects the choices they can and want to make. Through an artistic and creative format, students are stimulated to reflect on their own choice process. 86 grade secondary school pupils from 2 Antwerp schools are participating in the pilot project, and the first reactions from both students and teachers are very positive. For the development of the workshops, 4 students from the Educational Master of the Antwerp School of Education are involved. The teaching materials they develop for the workshop will be made available online for further use. Just to give you thank you.
Thank you. Well, you see, we can't get enough of Jesuit teachings, but to give you a moment of relax and reflection after listening to Chris Lowney and the Jesuits in Antwerp, let us watch the video, if my colleagues are ready, about the life of the cohort. It's a very short video, just for un peu de détente between the speakers. We can go. So often people ask, why is it mandatory to move into the ELP houses? And I guess this video is, well, just a very short insight, but we think it's important that young people stay together, not only in the collocations, but also those people who have some similar missions. And in our case, that would be the European common good. So I hope that this is not only showing that they get well along, but usually there is also the discussion that we had every week, visiting Cardinal Hölderich and all the other programs that we have done with the youngs. But let's see what they think of their experience. So now I call Anna and the cohort representative to offer an insight to your experience.
Dear guests, dear coaches and mentors, dear JES colleagues, and especially dear graduates of the European Leadership Program. I hope you are feeling well. You all look amazing. And I hope you've read in Annika's email that you can only graduate if you confessed all of the sins you had during the program in the church. So congratulations on your completion of this 5 months long journey of professional and personal growth. Today is a momentous occasion as we celebrate our achievements in this program and the leadership potential that each of us possesses. As we reflect on our time in Brussels, it is clear that this program has been transformative. In many ways, we have been equipped with the valuable leadership skills and have the opportunity to learn from and be inspired by the leaders of this EU bubble. We have also been supported in our development progress, both personally and professionally, through our coaches and mentors. We are really grateful for that. And we have been part of a unique and diverse community where we have learned that the importance of managing and navigating relationships and differences. Because we know we had some differences, especially when it comes to cleaning the dishes. But yeah, community life have difficulties, but also gives a lot of joy. And not only the joy of the opportunity to taste some really special dishes like the famous bigos, borscht, töltött káposzta or fufu, but also gives the joy of the opportunity that we can rely on each other. In the community aspect, I would like to highlight the role of the second semester fellows we had, Barbara, Francesco, Thomas, Chamina, Divaluk. You welcomed us with all of your heart and you helped us integrate into this community, and we will be forever grateful for that. Throughout this program, we have emphasized that leadership starts with the self. It is not simply a tool or set of skills, but a lifelong learning process, and that is reflected in our daily actions and in the consistent demonstration of our values. And I hope that every fellow have been able to develop a deeper understanding of themselves and their values, and that everyone will continue to cultivate this self-awareness and use it as a foundation for their leadership journey. I hope that you will take the skills and experiences that you have gained in this program and apply them in your future leadership roles. I want to say that I think that we are all like world changers and history makers. And I hope, I have no doubt that you will make a positive impact in your communities, in the world, and hopefully in the EU. For those who finished the ELP journey here, I encourage you to stay connected with the community as a lifelong members, because I think we have been part of a special community of generous, passionate, and determined leaders from around the world. And I hope that we will continue to support and inspire each other in the years to come. And for those who will continue their journey with the ELP for another 5 months, I wish you all the best in the self-development. And I also want to thank you, all of the people here helping us in this journey. And I hope we will be able to meet in the future as well, because we need this inspiration in our journey. And once again, congratulations on your achievements. And once again, thank you for being here for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. it has been growing into a tradition that we listen to the alumni representative. I think you understand that when you work with a society that has 500 years behind it, the significance of alumni is a degree different than what we would think otherwise. So this is the beginning of a very long construction and co-constitution of people with similar values in Brussels and in the EU bubble. And I'm happy that with this cohort, we will pass over the 100 in the alumni club. So that's a special occasion, and we have a very special alumni representative tonight, Gianmarco Palermo, because he was not only a member of the cohort, but he was also employee of JESC later, and he has been serving as ELP officer. And probably, not only, but probably in majority that contributed that he is one of the 3 fellows who made it to the Young Professional Program in the European Commission. And we are very proud of this achievement also in the cohort, that it's his reality that ELP is working not only with the most dedicated, but they happen also to be the smartest. And that's good news for us, most probably. So Gianmarco, please come and share your experience.
Well, such a presentation night, so I really need to make a nice speech, but Botan doesn't know that I don't have a speech. So yeah, now I feel the pressure. But if you don't mind, I have a just small post-it, which I got few notes while people were speaking. I'll put here, just very messy one. I'm not sure if I can read this one, but I'll share 2 things of what Father Filipe, can I call Felipe? Because we work together. So I didn't prepare the speech as well. And the second one, I'm pretty sure that even if the speeches are not good, the food will be fine, no? And the drinks especially for me. And I think, and I start with this word, drinks, because I was thinking while I was coming, why we are all here. And I might be a bit provocative, but we are here just for the drinks. And you might think that this sounds stupid and crazy, but I will prove you in the next 5 minutes that you're here for the drinks. At the end of my speech, I hope so, and I think so, you'll be happier. And the reason are 2. So the first one is that it'll be over, so I will not speak anymore. And the second one, you will be 5 minutes exactly closer to the drinks, to this moment you have been here. And with this, I'll start saying that moment that we will have after is the moment that we celebrate today. And what we're celebrating is the ELP fellow today, graduate. And this is my first message to you. Let's keep this celebration. Let's celebrate more. We are lucky. I think our society celebrate more than our previous generation. But keep doing this. We send a nice email. Let's celebrate. Of course, I'm not saying that you have to drink every time you send an email, but let's celebrate. You run 1 kilometer, celebrate this. And this is very well connected, in my opinion, to what's the message of the ELP. The first lesson, and I think, and I hope it's still this, is gratitude. This is the first things that you do at the ELP. You learn to be grateful, which is one of the concepts of the Jesuit. And for me, celebration is very well connected to gratitude. So let's keep celebrate every day. Again, you make a nice pasta, celebrate. I'll make a better one, so we will celebrate together. Second, so this is the first message. We will celebrate together in the drinks. But what is the second message? Is that today, while we will be there drinking, chatting, eating a bit, we are building the community. And we are building the ELP family. We are all part of the ELP family. There's someone which is a mentor, coach, someone is a ex-fellow, so alumni, someone is a fellow, someone is just a friend, someone just came here for the drinks. But the idea is that we all will be part of a family, ELP family, and you're even more privileged because you're part of the ELP alumni from today. So from today on, help each other. And that's very connected to what was saying before by Felipe. being part of the community, either the ELP or the ELP community or the alumni community, the key message inside is helping each other. For many reasons, can be job, as he said before, can be whatever it is. It needs to be, there is a connection between us. Not just the alumni, now I'm talking about the ELP family. So those are the two messages. The first one is keep celebrating being grateful. And the second one, support each other in the ELP family. Those are my two messages. But before to really conclude, I really would like to, I know what does it mean being a fellow and what does it mean being part of JESC, organizing this event, organizing this cohort. So really, give a hands to these people that organize. I can mention a lot of people here. I'm not gonna do it. Just really give a clap to them because it's extremely hard, the job that they do. So really thanks for this and for what you do. And welcome to the ELP alumni family.
One could say that he has been with the commission for too long, but but we can still call him back at one point. So I guess the moment has arrived when we are looking forward to the keynote speaker to appear on stage, who is Pierre Gougian tonight. And he's the president of the board of directors at the Université Libre de Bruxelles. He's also teaching classes at the Solvay Business School, himself being a graduate of Harvard MBA. He's also having a very extensive corporate past with McKinsey. And then he has been growing, as most of us, into service to the society. And his current new initiative, 40 Under 40, which is a new Belgian leadership initiative for young people, has got very famous in the country, even if I don't speak half of the language of the country, but from the French-speaking part, I could identify very well. His colleague Laurent is also here, and I'm very glad that even if we are still discovering how these leadership initiatives might find these synergies in the future, but let's get inspired from each other. So Pierre, please be welcomed at the pulpit.
Thank you very much. Felipe, I'm not sure what my first words should be. So joy is certainly a good one, but there's maybe something else that comes into my mind listening to the speeches and the testimonials that I've heard over the last half hour. And that is the keen awareness of the precious quality of moments. Particularly today, I understand we are essentially witnessing young lives, grounded lives, waiting to spread their wings. And that's a rare moment where we are here to share, to listen. And so therefore, beyond the joy, I think there's this quality of preciousness that I salute. I'm here, of course, to share with you some thoughts about leadership. Let me start with a very important caveat. Do not believe what I'm going to say. What I mean by that, I have no truth. I don't pretend to have any truth. I'm just looking for more truth. But my ambition really is to share with you a number of perspectives. And to use an image, I like to think about myself as a mountaineer, climbing one very beautiful and very tall mountain. That mountain can be climbed through very different faces or slopes. There's mine, which is different than yours, but I do believe that this mountain is the same mountain and that between mountaineers we have so much to share. My own exposure to leadership is actually triple. I've had the privilege for about 30 years to experience leadership, I would say, on a horizontal level, being the counselor, the advisor to formidable leaders, captains of industries, CEOs, executive teams of important companies in moments of great challenge and great flux. since about 8 years, I also have the privilege to experience leadership, I would say, from above in the context of governance. As a chairman, as a vice chairman, as a chairman of a university, as vice chairman of a pharmaceutical company, as members of different boards of directors and nomination committees and remuneration committees, and essentially exercising some level of grounded supervision on leadership. And my third exposure, probably not the least important, is experiencing leadership not from above, but from below, through this platform, Belgians 40 Under 40, that Laurent, who is sitting there, and myself have co-founded a year and a half ago, which essentially is, I think, very similar to what I hear you are doing here. It's about helping young, talented societal leaders here in Belgium to know themselves better, to build more confidence, and through the diversity of their group, have the courage to make the world better. In talking about leadership, I want to avoid a very important and frequent challenge, and that is the ability to, or the desire to define leadership. I shall not do that, and I will try, because I'm always a bit skeptical about words that can describe the vast reality of leadership. I would rather resort to images. And so the first image I would like to suggest is to think about leadership as a profound presence in the world with a particular view on the world. And often these days we look at the world as a place that is broken, as a place that needs to be fixed. I do not like that image, because if the world is broken, what you need to do is a form of brutal intervention to find solutions to problems. I think the world looks much more, and this image does not come from me, it comes from a wonderful French philosopher, Abdenour Bidar, and he speaks about the world as a piece of cloth that has been torn apart and that needs to be woven again. I very much like that image. The world is full of threads, part of one piece of cloth that need to be woven together. Weaving is about creating links. Weaving is about creating unity that does not exist before. So let me then double click on what I think are two key facets of any way of thinking or being in the world of leadership. And that is essentially the doing and the being. To use another very simple image, the famous, or at least very frequently used image of the iceberg, I like to think about what is happening above the water as the doing part. That is the manifestation. It's the courage to change reality, the courage to face the intrinsic resistance of matter, of reality to any form of action. But of course, like the iceberg shows, what is the real thing that is happening, the center of gravity of this huge volume of frozen water is below the water. That is the being part. And in there, I would like to distinguish two layers. The layer that is closest to the surface of the water, I would like to identify as the ability to mobilize one's emotional and mental energy. That is happening between our ears, behind our eyes, in our head. That's the first layer. Mobilizing continuously our mental energy. What is then the layer below? It's the ability to adopt a life posture, a certain way of being in the world. Those two things, the doing part and the being part, are of course intrinsically linked. It is a journey from doing through being, being enabling doing. To express it in a different way, it is about the interaction of the will, the mind, the spirit, or if you would use another word, the soul, whatever word we want to use, the interplay between the spirit and action. I would say it is the spirit in action. And the main message, or the main thought that I would like to share with you today is that the spirit in action is being, but being as such does not exist. Being can only exist if it is about becoming. Being is not a static concept. It's about flux, it's about journey, and it is about hard work. And this is what I would like to focus on today. And to be even more specific, I'm going to suggest that the act of becoming has to go through self-mastery, working on self-mastery, understanding self-mastery. It's a very active way of looking at what we can become. This is never a given. Some people will argue actually that the quality of leadership, the being of leadership, is something that is given by genes and chromosomes, that you are born with some form of intrinsic leadership qualities. Some other people will say that it is given not only by chromosomes, but it is given by your role and by the competences that you've accumulated or that you're accumulating in your life. Some others will say that it is given by the possibility we all have as human beings to adapt ourselves to a specific context. But it is never given. It is about this hard work of developing one's own self-mastery. Here comes another image. Self-mastery is like exercising muscle. So what do we do to exercise our muscles? We go to the gym. We go to a fitness club. And so the image I would like to use tonight is likening this path of becoming a greater master of oneself as becoming a member of a self-mastery fitness club. If we would have time, I would give you some coaching lessons in that fitness club, but I do give you a free membership of that fitness club. I'll give you a very quick tour on how that gym looks like. It's actually a building. It doesn't really exist in reality, but it is a building. And it has 3 floors. And each floor has a name. You actually have to enter the building through the ground floor. And that floor, in which you will find lots of machines, is called Me and the World. I'll give you a tour of that in a second. You will wonder what's happening on the second floor. That's a different floor, different set of exercises to be done. That's called Me and Others. So you guessed that the third floor, in which you will find other machines, is called Me and Me. The good news is there's a rooftop. The bad news is you're not going to be able to go to the rooftop unless you go through floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. There's no elevator to the rooftop. And the rooftop, with a spa and a jacuzzi and a bar, is called Beyond Me. So let's enter the fitness club through floor number 1. This is a floor where there are heavy muscle building machines. So there's lots of, I'm afraid there's going to be lots of sweating there. And it's going to be essentially about 2 types of machines, one on the left, one on the right. And they have to do with something that is essential to self-mastery. And that is the ability to become aware and to reframe what is overcoming us. What is overcoming us in the act of practicing any form of leadership? What is overcoming us? 2 types of experiences, mindsets, emotions. They're emotions that bring us down, emotions that have to do with anxiety, fear, lack of confidence. These are, to use the words of Spinoza, these are moments of sadness. These are moments that pull us down. And as Spinoza was saying, these are moments where we are being reduced in our ability to act. There are, of course, moments, often too rare, where there are emotions, states of mind that pull us up. These are moments of joy. And again, I'm humbly borrowing from Spinoza. Moments of joy because it elevates us and it increases our ability to act. The first machine is just to become aware of the nature of those emotions and how they capture us. The more we can become aware of them, the more we will be free. But that's not enough. We have to reframe. And the reframing is essentially, I'm going to borrow from another cultural world for a second. You know, the Eastern symbol of the yin and the yang. In the dark part, there's a white spot. And in the white spot, in the white part, there's a dark spot. This is the reframing that I'm talking about. It is that in any moment of sadness, there are ferments of joy. In any moments of joy, there might be ferments of sadness. I'll give you a very simple example. If you're a leader, and we all are leaders, do you sometimes have this feeling that you really don't know what to do? You're faced with an important challenge, a task, something that you have set yourself to do, a mission that has been given to you, and you have no clue what to do? How does that feel? It really feels bad, because of course it goes contrary to all of the assumptions that leadership is about knowing answers. That experience is an incredibly precious experience. It needs to be savored. It needs to become aware. And then, this is the second machine, the reframing is about acknowledging that in not knowing the answer lies something extremely precious. It's curiosity, it's openness. And so you can take any kind of negative emotion or states of mind that overcomes us and that feels like pulling us down, you can reframe it. You can also, and I'm just going to give you the opposite example, you sometimes, moments of grace, doesn't happen a lot with me, but sometimes it does, where I think I know all the answers. Feels extremely good. Not only do I know the answers, I'm even able to convince people that I'm right. And I feel the energy in the room. There's dark in the white. The reframing is thinking that you know all the answers is a danger in itself. Having some form of charisma to mobilize people is a huge responsibility. So this interplay of becoming aware and immediate reframing is a key element, and this we can learn. Some of us tend to be people looking at what the world as a glass half empty, to look at the more trivial declination of what I just said. It's about learning how to look at the glass half full and vice versa. But it's incredibly deeper than that. This is the first floor. I mean, we could spend quite a long time there. And we could actually help each other reframe. Let's quickly go to the second floor because I don't want to hold you up for the whole night in my fitness club. The second floor is very different. There are no machines. It's a studio. It's a dance studio. It's about me and others. Why is it a dance? Because there's a motto there. It's about courageous conversations. Now, this is something that I find extremely important because the phenomenology of leadership is what? Is having conversations. You know, if some person from Mars would come to the world and would look at us a bit like an anthropologist and thinking, what do leaders do? I mean, they talk to each other. One-to-one, one-to-many, one way. So The reality, the daily reality of expressing leadership is about having conversations. So how do you conduct higher quality conversations, courageous conversations? And that's a dance, and the dance has many steps. And there's only one step that I want to share with you today. And that is a crucial step that most of us have never been told. Some of us are naturally good at it. Most of us have never been taught, and a lot of us have forgotten what it is. And that's deep listening. I feel bad in saying that because I'm, of course, doing the opposite of what I should be doing, but I had the chance to listen to some very stimulating words tonight. But this ability to listen is the bedrock of any conversation, even courageous conversations. And this is something we can learn. Some of us are natural masters. Most of us are not pretty good at it. You can learn that. It's about suddenly looking or thinking about yourself in a conversation as a sponge. It's not very inspiring, but a sponge absorbs everything. It's the ability to go into a conversations without hopes nor desires. It's this suspension of judgment that needs to be done. A huge task. It can be learned. Quickly go to the third floor. Me and me. Here we have machines, but they're not about building muscles, it's about stretching. It can also be painful, but it can also be relaxing. The main machine there is around something, and I'm going to use a particular word for that. It doesn't come from me. It's about brilliance. Me and me is about brilliance. Not the brilliance of my ego, not the brilliance of a statue that I might hope somebody will make of me, or some kind of building with my name on it. No. The brilliance is what uniquely defines our own individual magic, the sparkle. You know, in our Western tradition, in the fairy tales, when a baby is born, you have fairies. Sometimes you have witches as well, but let's assume they are fairies. And they bestow particular qualities on the baby. We all have had fairies. Which fairies were there? Not an easy question to answer. Actually, it takes a lifetime to understand that. Once you get a sense of brilliance, you know, to have discernment, if I may borrow that word from what you both have said, is the ability to discern in which context your brilliance will deploy itself in the best way. And I would also tell you, I think that brilliance is something that can only exist if it is connected with what has come before and what will come after that. Who we are, our own brilliance, is a result of many lives of people that have lived before us. Some of them we have known, some of them we have heard about, some of them we don't know, but they have profoundly influenced us. Their lives are leaving traces that is up to us to interpret, and it's a lifetime's work. And we will leave traces as well. So what are the traces that we want to leave to those who will come after us? A quick tour on the rooftop? Rooftop is completely different, because I've been talking so far about me and the world, me and others, me and me, which is, of course, highly me-centric. You cannot leave the building without repeatedly going to a higher level, or a more profound level, but let's say a higher level, that is reaching beyond me, that is about engaging, working, immersing oneself in meaning that goes beyond ourselves. It's engaging with mystery. It's engaging with wisdom. It's engaging with meaning. And we all have our own traditions. We all have our communities. We all have our paths. But it is absolutely key to engage with something that is bigger. This is why I use the word engaging with mystery. And that makes all the difference. Let's quickly leave the building and essentially what I've been trying to do with you tonight is to reflect on leadership as a journey, as a process of becoming, as a never-ending process of growth. It needs to be conscious and is actually a process of hard work, which is a lot about developing the art of becoming masters of oneself, and probably using some of the words that I heard you speak about, Felipe, becoming freer, to have a better sense of who we are. Of course, you will have noticed that I think what I'm talking about is not too far away from what you're doing. It's very close to what we're doing with these young people here in Belgium. And I wish you all young lives in progress to become great masters of yourself and to reach beyond yourselves as well. Thank you so much for your attention.
I guess the expected inspiration was here. So thank you, Pierre. Thank you for this contribution. It is also inspiring to see that the leadership formations I take as excellent are very similar. And when we first discussed with Pierre, I was very positively surprised that, okay, we are in some ways discovering the same path with the formations. And that was the same experience when we discussed with American Jesuit formations without any pre-arranged methodologies, that actually they are thinking in very similar ways. And it's always good to see that it's a bigger family than we expect. But now, and let us proceed with the evening. And I guess the questions and the answers should be around the drink that Gianmarco promised. And that would be the easiest moment for that. So let's proceed to the graduation. The graduation moment, and I ask my helpers to set the stage. So we will ask Barbara to help with the sashes as last year. Philippe, Pierre, and myself, we will be handing over the diplomas to the first and the second semester fellows. Practically, the first semesters have spent 5 months with us so far, while the second semesters remain for another 5 months terminus. And this has been also more and more our intention to keep at least 1/4 or a bit less than the half of the cohort with us for 10 months, not only for having a deeper impact, but also for creating this alumni and the transitioning between the cohorts easier. So that's the current moment that we are looking forward. I will help getting rid of the table, and then we will call you fellows in order that I put the diplomas in, supposedly alphabetic. Oh no, please, you have
We don't need this.
No, we don't.
Which is the frequent.
You bring them then on the last one, there is a photo.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I give you a handshake. Thank you.
Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then a photo with
Okay, so
Okay.
Come to the center.
Yeah.
To the center.
Okay, but being the first one, that's easy.
Anna was the wash disher. I must confess the story I told, so it's good she is the first one.
Okay, 3, 4.
Thank you. Ivan. Where does Ivan comes from?
Hungary. Jessica, our very first Anglican fellow. Spain. Our Spain is our first only Belgian citizen. No double citizenship. Okay, thank you. Vasil. So this was the first time that we had Ukrainians in the cohort, and at this moment already 3, and 2 of them are hopefully present.
Sorry. Thank you. I particularly like the colors.
Well, the colors. We take the picture. Veronica, who will join a Jesuit work, the Laudato Si Research Institute in the next semester.
Where?
Laudato Si Research Institute in Oxford, having a Brussels outlet. Thank you. Volodymyr? Barbara? So we begin with the second semester. They will receive no such because they already have one from the last semester. And they receive still a diploma, yeah? Thank you for taking the longer journey. We take the picture. Ivan Luc with Uxia for 2 semesters and Uzos in Antwerp. And he will become a PhD researcher in justice in mining. Francesco. This is not yet the rooftop. Francesco with the commission already. Jamila? Jamila was probably the first fellow who finished the doctorate during ELP, and she's teaching at a Filipino university. You can tell.
It's very poetic.
the last one before the drinks?
No, we have two. Actually, let me proceed with Geza because we printed two diploma for Anna, the best friend of Geza in the cohort. But I will not give you Anna's diploma, Geza, but please, we are still the first cohort. So he deserves the sash and the clap. Geza is the national taekwondo expert at the commission and hopefully staying on behalf of the government. So the last one before the drink is Thomas, one of the house leaders from Brazil. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So that was probably the part that we have been also expecting to see the fellows transit to their, I would say, mission. So now this is the engagement phase when the new challenges are waiting for you. But before that and the drinks, let me ask Archbishop Noel to just give a farewell message to the fellows, as he has been called as Apostolic Nuncio to the European Union just 3 weeks before. Would you offer us a message? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow guests, and members of the panel, and graduates of this 8th cohort of the ELP initiative. And it's an immense joy for me, the word you have used, Philippi, to be here this evening, because I do remember something of the ancient seeds of this initiative, which were sown here many, many years ago, also by a Jesuit. Frank Turner was one of the instrumental people in that, who in turn had been surprisingly, well, not necessarily surprised, but certainly had been inspired by some colleagues and friends in England and Wales, because they had imagined an internship in the Parliament in Westminster, and had positioned some young women and men post-graduation with members of the Westminster Parliament. And at that time, as I was working here so many years ago, the idea was mooted that it might be interesting to extend that and to Europeanize it. And thus, together with Michael Kuhn and with some of your former colleagues, we initiated a program in the European Parliament whereby and wherewith a number of young English people, English and Welsh people, came across here and spent a year walking the corridors of the Parliament, befriending people from many different countries. That was a very rich initiative, and alas, and unfortunately, it is no longer possible for evident reasons. So it's a joy for me to be here with you this evening. It's also inspirational indeed to return to these European pavements where I spent some 2 decades of my life at an earlier stage before returning to Ireland, and Northern Ireland specifically, as Bishop of a diocese called Down and Connor, located in the city of Belfast, which I'm sure will be known to some of you. Joyful, inspirational, also exercising and challenging. And I have been asked by Philippe this evening to pronounce a prayer, and I'll take his request and order and stay to it. But before I do, I simply want to say that trying to intimate what might be the mood and the moment that this is this evening, and as I compliment all of you graduates on your achievement and wish you every success in the future, and compliment equally the Jesuit, the JESC team here and all associated with it. Somehow or other I sensed that a few lines from Middle Eastern, Greco, Christian source might be pertinent. And it struck me as I listened to the presentations here this evening, the first from Felipe, then from you, Barbara, and then from you, Pierre, that somehow or other I sensed that those lines from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians about love. Now, he used a Greek word, and a very specifically chosen and delicately chosen Greek word, agape, which picks up with bread sharing and compagnia, and it picks up specifically with the fourth tier or floor, me and beyond me. Because the choice of that word is that stretching dimension. Oh, you talked about stretching indeed. That stretching dimension of the charge, which Paul found in that word agape. And so if you agree and don't mind, as a form of prayer, Felipe, I thought I would firstly cite these lines, or some of them, from that chapter 13 of Paul's first letter. And then you did specifically request me to pronounce that Irish blessing, which I will do afterwards, if that's okay. So those lines from St. Paul this evening, and they are very pertinent in terms of achievement and in terms of aspiration and the challenge of self-mastery and exercise on that fourth floor, having gone through the stretches and the demands of the other three. So St. Paul, and we all do speak, and you will certainly speak as leaders after deep listening. If I speak in tongues of men, or indeed of angels, but if I do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong and a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I'm nothing at all. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. That seems to be a processive notion of truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. The Irish blessing in English. May the road rise to meet you at this moment. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm on your face. The rain fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Now, in Irish. Why not? Gunyari an bocher laat, go ro an gweich, go brach de húl, go lonri an grian go che ar dai, go ditche an boisteach, mon vor parkana, agus go munamid le céad a rish, go ginne giashing in mos a loivahu. Thank you so much for your attention. Every success in your lives, and may you all be inspirational and challenging leaders in times ahead. Our world, to be rewoven, needs your ingenuity. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Thank you, Bishop Noel. Now there is really nothing else between you and the drinks and the foods, and most importantly, the community that we have gathered in this room. And I guess by now, after the 90th minutes of this meeting, probably you feel that there is something we all share, and that can be discovered in the discussions and the conversation that to be followed. It's not only the friends of JESC, it's a bit more. We have coaches present who offered spiritual accompaniment voluntarily to the fellows. We have mentors present who did the same, advising on the vocation for the fellows. We also have present from Caritas and other organizations, people who have offered traineeship places where they can spend 5 months their daily job and their daily mission in these organizations. Of course, the larger church, the Jesuit brother organizations, European level and Belgian and French level, you know that the ELP houses, one of them is actually a French former Jesuit house, while the other is the German communities, the St. Paulus Gemeindes building in Rue Fauchil. So we are extremely grateful to their support, as well as to the support of the family of Aldegond. So with all this coming together, this is hopefully a discovery of conversation that is ahead of you with the drinks and the food. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Thank you for our excellent panel. Let's give them a clap. And also to my colleagues in JESC, Anike and Fablesi and Matthias and Eleonora, of course, formerly Gianmarco, Philippe, and all the others who have been contributing to the success of this evening. Thank you very much. And the most important are the fellows. So thank you for keeping with us for these 5 months. Now, of course, you can take all the photos and please enjoy the reception. Thank you very much.